and yet there is hope. Organizations, both local and global, are fighting to change this. The International Labor Organization, UNICEF, Save the Children. Countless grassroots activists work daily to bring attention to the crisis of child labor. In some places, they have made progress. Laws have been passed, schools have been built, children have been rescued and rehabilitated. Public awareness campaigns have forced companies to reconsider and investigate their supply chains. Fair trade and ethical sourcing movements have gained momentum, but progress is slow. For every child pulled out of a field, another takes their place. For every rescue mission, there is a new mine opening in a war-torn region. The truth is, to truly end child labor, the world must address the root causes. Families need real economic alternatives. Adults must earn enough to support their households. Schools must be free, safe, and within reach. Communities need investment in infrastructure and healthcare. Laws must be enforced not just on paper, but in practice. And global consumers need to be willing to ask hard questions about where their products come from. Ending child labor is not just a policy goal. It is a moral imperative. It is about refusing to accept a world where some children are allowed to dream, while others are forced to dig. It is about recognizing that the cost of cheap goods is often paid by the innocence of the young. If 5-year-olds are in mines and fields, while others their age are learning the alphabet and building with blocks, something is deeply broken in our global systems. The voices of these children are often silent, not because they have nothing to say, but because no one is listening. Their cries are muffled by the roar of industry, the shuffle of bureaucracy, and the indifference of distance. But we can choose to hear them. We can choose to amplify them. We can tell their stories and demand better. Because no 5-year-old should ever wake up to a day of labor. No 5-year-old should be denied the joy of childhood. No society that allows it to happen should ever call itself just. Thank you for staying with us until the end. This wasn't an easy story to hear, but it's one that needs to be told. Somewhere right now, a 5-year-old child is lifting a basket heavier than their body or crawling through a dark mine where sunlight never reaches. Their tiny hands are blistered. Their backs ache. Their childhood is being traded away for pennies. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, but silence won't make this go away. Awareness is the first step toward change. Every time you choose to speak up, share this video, or support organizations fighting to end child labor, you become part of the solution. These children can't raise their voices, but you can. You can help tell the world that childhood should never be spent in pain, in danger, or in silence. Let this not just be another video you watch and forget. Let it be a spark. Let it be a reason to care a little more, ask harder questions, and take action in any way you can. Because a better future for these children starts with people like you refusing to look away. Bye. Until next time, stay informed, stay compassionate, and stay loud for those who can't be. Imagine being 5 years old. The world should be a place of wonder. Days should be filled with crayons, storybooks, and curious questions. But in many corners of the world, a different reality plays out. Instead of laughter and playgrounds, some children hear the clang of pickaxes. Instead of nap time, there is back-breaking work beneath a blazing sun or deep inside, choking dusty mines. These are the forgotten children of child labor, some as young as 5, whose tiny hands harvest crops or dig in the earth not for play, but for survival. Child labor is not a relic of the distant past. It is a harsh present-day reality for millions of children around the globe. While the image of a child going to school, safe and nourished, may dominate in many countries, there are places where 5-year-olds wake up at dawn not to a breakfast table, but to a field, factory floor, or the entrance of a mine shaft. These children are not simply helping out in a family business in safe conditions for a few hours. They are working full days, sometimes even longer than adults, in dangerous, exploitative, and traumatizing environments. In agricultural regions across Africa, Asia, and Latin America, children are enlisted to help plant, lead pick, and carry crops. At 5 years old, their bones are still forming, their muscles not yet developed, and their skin is sensitive to the harsh chemicals sprayed on the plants they tend. Pesticides cling to their fingers. Sharp tools are placed in their hands. Many of these children labor in intense heat with no hats, no shoes, and no protective equipment. Blisters form on their feet. Cuts and burns become commonplace, They carry sacks heavier than their own body weight, their spines straining under the load. Then there are the mines. These are not the well-lit, safety-inspected tunnels of regulated industries. These are illegal or loosely governed small-scale mining sites in countries like the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Bolivia, and parts of India. Your 5-year-old children are lowered into narrow shafts or crawl through dark tunnels where a single wrong move can mean suffocation, capement, or collapse. The dust chokes their lungs. The darkness becomes their daily companion. With no helmets and no masks, they risk injury, disease, and death. Their work often involves crushing stones by hand, using mercury to separate gold, or scavenging for cobalt for use in batteries, powering smartphones and electric vehicles. Why does this continue to happen? The answers are complex, but rooted in poverty, lack of education, corruption, and the hunger of global supply chains. For many families, the income generated by their child's labor is not optional. It is the difference between starvation and survival. When parents earn just a few dollars a day, sending their children to work is not a decision taken lightly. It is a matter of necessity. And regions where school is not free, or where access is limited or of poor quality, education becomes a luxury, not a right. There are also structural injustices at play. Corporations that benefit from cheap labor rarely inspect or take full responsibility for what happens several rungs down their supply chains. Governments, overwhelmed by debt, political instability, or sheer scale, often lack the resources or will to enforce child labor laws. Even when legislation exists, corruption and underreporting keep it from being truly effective. What is more, many forms of child labor occur in the shadows, on family farms or in remote areas, making enforcement nearly impossible without community support and global pressure. For the children caught in this system, the consequences are severe and lasting. Physically, child labor stunts growth. It leaves permanent injuries, chronic fatigue, and lifelong health issues. Respiratory problems from inhaling mine dust, pesticide poisoning, and musculoskeletal damage from repetitive motions and heavy lifting are just the beginning. Mentally, these children are robbed of their innocence. Anxiety, trauma, and depression take root early. The constant burden of survival, of earning wages in dangerous conditions, leaves no space for wonder, creativity, or even basic rest. Education is often the first casualty. A child in a field all day does not have time to sit in a classroom. A child in a mine all night cannot stay awake through lessons. Many never learn to read or write. This lack of education traps them in a cycle of poverty. Without basic literacy and numeracy, their futures are limited. They grow into adults with little bargaining power, unable to escape the low-wage, high-risk labor that defined their childhood. Their children, in turn, face the same fate. The psychological scars run deep. Children who work in these conditions often grow up too fast, missing out on the social and emotional development that comes with play, friendship, and parental nurturing. They may never learn what safety feels like. Many develop distrust toward adults, resentment toward authority, and fear of being left behind. Some, hardened by their experiences, become victims of further exploitation or fall into crime or trafficking. There are stories that make your stomach turn. 5-year-olds who handle machetes in sugarcane fields, children whose skin is discolored and peeling from chemical burns, tiny hands riddled with cuts from sorting through trash for recyclable material, children who fall asleep standing up, their bodies too tired to resist gravity. Others simply disappear into the void of unrecorded statistics, having died in accidents, disease, or abuse that no one will ever hear about.